I'm Kayla Pearlstein. Dose of social. I am super excited to announce today's guest. We have Nathan Waller, who is the Associate Clinical Professor and Director of the Northwestern University Center for Audiology, Speech, Language, and Learning, which is also known as NUCASLL. So, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today. We're super excited to have you on.
Excited to be here.
We'd love for you to start by telling our audience a little bit more about yourself and your background and what you do.
Well, as you shared, I'm the director of Newcastle here at Northwestern. By trade, I'm a speech language pathologist. I have been in the profession for 19 years, going on 20 next May, so pretty exciting. And I've had a few different hats here at the university. I have been in the classroom teaching, I have been in the clinic seeing patients and serving as a clinical instructor for students and really, doing a lot of work in this role, helping out with our patient education and bringing patients into the clinic, working with students, and helping out with our research initiatives. And so, just very excited for all the exciting things happening here and getting to share with you.
Yeah, and we actually work with Nathan and Newcastle, so it's been really exciting to see what they're working on at Northwestern and what their clinic looks like and the things that they're doing. So if you're in the Chicago area, you should definitely go and check them out.
That's right.
So, Nathan, let's get into social media. Many
Yes.
universities and clinics are still figuring it out. Still, like many years later. Why do you think social media is such an important communication tool today for universities and clinics?
That's a great question, and I think university clinics are especially in a tough situation because the healthcare market has just really expanded, and you see hospitals kind of taking on more and more facilities and getting larger and larger. And so university clinics really need to do a little bit more than just your typical marketing to really get people to know what you value and the work that you're doing. And so when I think about social media specifically for just any business, but especially for clinics, um, it's more than just a website. Websites are not always personalized. They have a lot of good information for folks, but individuals really aren't understanding like what you're about. Would they feel comfortable coming to your clinic and being a part of the programs that you have? And so it's really kind of taking it to a more personalized level and versus just, kind of the boilerplate websites that you see out there. It's an opportunity to showcase so much more that's happening.
Yeah, definitely. I know also from being there and speaking with a lot of people that work there, it's so great to have both like audiologists and students working, and a lot of people don't know that clinics like Newcastle have the help from both sides, which I think is really unique.
It really is. And if you think about it, when you are going to see a healthcare provider, it's a kind of one-on-one interaction. And in a university clinic where you have graduate students who are becoming future clinicians, they're a part of the whole process. And so you have the clinical instructor with a team of students, and all of them have eyes on your case. They're all thinking deeply
Mhm.
about how they can help you and how they can support you. Clinical instructors are making sure that students understand the evidence for care and the things that they can do to have successful evaluations and appointments. And if you're a patient, you're going to get so much more time for a session versus a lot of places you may have 30 minutes to an hour for a diagnostic versus here you may have 2 hours. And while you're here a little bit longer than maybe you planned on it, you also don't feel rushed and you're getting lots of information about your plan of care and what they think is the best path forward.
How would you say social media has changed the way prospective students, patients, and families discover and evaluate programs like Newcastle?
I think it comes back to, when they see social media, like, especially, like, what, we have implemented at Newcastle through Golden Bird, it comes back to this idea of personalization, and so if you're a prospective patient, you are getting to see more like, "Oh, this looks like a welcoming environment. It looks safe here. People look very friendly." It's interesting to hear about all these different types of programs and offerings. Maybe there's someone who's kind of on the fence about pursuing services for communication, and they learn some tips and pointers on social media that you wouldn't necessarily see on a website, or you'd have to comb through different pages on that site to find, right?
Hmm.
So maybe that catches someone's eye. Prospective students who are looking for a clinical program, I think that they are interested to see, are the faculty welcoming? Do they look like someone I really want to work with? How are the students? Are they engaged? Are they enjoying their experiences? And I think that social media, it allows for that chance to be a little bit even more so authentic to what your experience is going to be like.
Yeah, I would definitely agree from someone that's working on your social media, but also that's been there to meet everyone that works there and some of the students and things like that. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it definitely forms more of a connection, right? Because when someone comes in for their first appointment, they could see someone and say, "Oh, I saw you on Instagram," or whatever it is, and it kind of
Hmm.
initially it kind of, like, breaks down barriers in a way, like, you feel a little bit more comfortable too.
Exactly. I would say that you almost feel like you're developing that relationship already with that provider, right? Or with
Mhm.
even just that facility, and that when you come in, it doesn't feel completely brand new. Folks are understandably, patients, especially the first time that they're getting a service or going to a new place is there's a lot of anxiety around that. Kind of the unknown. Are people going to be nice to me? Am I going to feel welcomed? What does it look like there? And I think that social media can really highlight that, what that experience is going to be like for patients and put them at ease, for sure. And I think that prospective patients love seeing students and love seeing students involved in the program. It's like, oh, this is a learning environment. This is going to be a very different experience than just going to, a place without that element.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are there any types of content on social media that have surprised you so far with how much engagement or positive feedback they've received?
I think people always appreciate kind of the typical announcement kind of thing, like, "Hey, we got this new program," or there's maybe a new team member on board or something like that people like to see. But I think what's been a pleasant surprise is, people really love the more candid type of pictures and content. We recently had some students who are pursuing a doctorate degree in audiology go out to different environments such as coffee shops and concerts, and we're testing kind of the noise levels in those places, and they were creating content for social media. And I think that things like that have a really far reach. It's like, oh, that's really cool that they're out there, and again, isn't kind of the same old, kind of just like a blurb of announcing this new program or something like that. The other thing I think is just a wonderful opportunity for social media for our university program is that we're always trying to think of ways to connect with alumni. Our students are a part of our family. We want to keep up with them, and we want them to keep up with us when they graduate. And so, seeing the traffic increase with alumni wanting to be a part of our digital channels has been really exciting. Popular videos are always of our clinical faculty when they're getting interviewed or talking a
Mhm.
little bit about their work. You'll see hundreds of likes and lots of engagement with that. And which I think, too, from a perspective patient, to see like, oh, wow, like, people really love this person. They really liked their work with this instructor. It's even more reason to want to come to Newcastle.
Yeah, I'll speak on that too, because I think that's definitely been really exciting to see. But one thing I can say from being there in person and seeing things on social media is everyone that is alumni, faculty, a student, a graduate, they all truly do love what they do. And that comes through on the videos that we take. So I think that helps.
Absolutely.
I would say that many leaders are hesitant to invest in marketing because it can be hard to measure. From your perspective, why has it been worth investing in your organization's visibility?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, being able to tap into social media and be very strategic with it, we intentionally set out to target several things. One was patient education. Again, we didn't want to just use social media for announcements,
Mhm.
right? I think that's something that someone's going to swipe through really quickly. But if they see something that is educational, maybe it's about learning about different types of hearing loss,
Mhm.
or someone who has hoarseness, and what are treatments for that. That this is a way to engage a wider audience, because they are learning from the content that you're creating. And again, I think we really wanted to expand upon doing things just like brochures for the clinic, and just the website, which are definitely important and add a lot of value. We really wanted to engage with folks that are on social media a lot, to really reach out and expand that reach.
Yeah.
So if I can ask you both this question, what is the piece of content that you've seen most recently, maybe on your social media channels, that surprised you, that you thought, "Oh, I'm not sure if that's gonna work, but it did really well."
I would say the one we did with the mannequins from the I forgot what show. I didn't even know what that was, and Sam knew what it was.
Mhm.
Yes, the heated rivalry.
Yeah.
So popular show, students love it. And there's a scene in the show where there's like a hospital scene, and they're talking about going to a cottage. And we happen to have a mannequin here that's used for simulation. And so the mannequin allows for learning things like patient positioning, understanding, like different ways to strategize, like hearing impairment and things like that. And so it's a life size mannequin. And one of our wonderful clinical colleagues and her team of students put a wig on him and had music in the background. And but then changed the script a little bit to be focused on hearing care, of course. So
Yeah. It was
that was a fun one.
hilarious.
I love that.
Um,
I'm gonna have to go watch that now.
I think it shows, like, like we're very serious about making sure that we are providing high quality patient care, but we also know how to have fun.
Yeah.
And this is a fun environment to be around, and students love it too.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe this mannequin will develop its own persona on social media and
You never know.
have some future
And
content.
he may his name is Manny, and he's very popular around here.
Manny the mannequin, I love it.
So we also had one of the assistant clinical professors, her son came on site for a shoot, and he is adorable, and we were doing a lot of different play with him. And they had the big, you remember when we were younger in class, which Lindsay, I'm sure your kids have done, with the big what is it called?
Like the parachute
The
kind of thing.
Oh,
parachute.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
run under, and so he was like in the parachute, and they were swinging him, and he was running under it, and all that content performed really well too.
Kayla, I'm pretty sure that you've played parachute with my kids.
Did I? I
I'm pretty
probably
sure
did.
you have.
It's popular, like
Pretty sure you
it's a
have.
classic.
Yeah.
Well, and if you think about, like, prospective clients coming to the clinic, we have a large, like, pediatric arm of Newcastle, children who are coming for various speech and language concerns, literacy needs as well, voice, and hearing as
Mhm.
well. So I think if you're a parent and you see digital content of like children in the space, like being active and doing things. And even for the kid to see that, like, hey, look, this is where we're going tomorrow. Look how fun it is. And I think that's another way that this really welcomes people into the clinic, and that it's a fun environment and it's not scary, and that we celebrate kids here and have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's great because I think that, a lot of times there can be a lot of anxiousness around like going to a new environment like this and like just a doctor in general or a clinic. And I think if your content can educate but also entertain your audience too and like kind of show your your prospective patients what they're going to expect, like I think it helps, like we said earlier, like just like helps form that connection and just like ease make the process a little bit easier for everyone all around.
Absolutely.
So, Nathan, what is one mistake that you've seen organizations make when trying to communicate their message online?
I think, a mistake that can happen is, again, kind of this like boilerplate kind of, just making announcements. There's no like interaction with the content, is if it's not educating someone or showing, an activity, people can quickly swipe through that, right? And so I have seen some places where that seems to be the majority of the content that they're making is, it's announcements, upcoming dates and things like that. Again, important information, but if that's the only thing that is popping up on your channels, I think people just don't find it interactive or engaging. And, when you're on a social media space, you're competing with a lot, right? You're
Hmm.
competing with lots of reels, lots of activity, all kinds of things that are out there in people's feeds. And so you have to have something that pops and stands out. You want things that are polished and clean, but there's also such a thing as like overly polished and very kind of bland that kind of gets just lost in the mix of thousands and thousands of new content is coming out like every minute.
Nathan, you said that so perfectly. If only every client would understand that.
I'm
Every
learning too. Like, yeah. But, I kind of managed loosely our social media before Kayla and her team started to help us out. And that was one of the things was like, I want this to be engaging and exciting for folks. But I was kind of lost in how to do that. And so my natural default was like, oh, we have a new cognitive fitness program that's starting, or this aphasia center program. And again, helpful things for people to see, but it's gonna get lost in the shuffle, so,
Yeah.
uh
Yeah, no, that's great to see all of the great content that you guys have put together, from a video perspective too. Because before, were you guys doing much with video?
Not
not
really.
really, like, very, very minimum, and I think video can sometimes be a challenge, for folks that maybe aren't engaging with social media a whole lot. I know for myself speaking, like, my iPhone can do all kinds of things, but I only know how to do just a few of the things it can do. And so bringing in experts to really help, guide that. And people love to see that. They love to see people in action. They love to see that type of engagement. And again, that's what's going to pop in a feed.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, Nathan, what's one mindset shift you think universities and clinics need to make when it comes to social media? I think we've talked a lot about this, but if you were to just boil this down into a couple key takeaways for our listeners, what would you say?
I would say, like, don't feel like it has to be just one track. University clinics are special because there's several different audiences, right? You have prospective patients or existing patients who are looking at your content, existing students or prospective students, alumni. You may have folks who are researchers who are interested to know what type of programs and offerings you have, because that could maybe lead to potential collaboration. Even donors, someone who is looking to make contributions, and maybe they have a specific interest in communication disorders. If they see the good things that you're doing and the hard work that your facility is engaged in, they may be likely to reach out to ask for a tour and to see your space and to talk to you further. And so really is kind of, what is that business model where you're really trying in your social media to capture your values, capture the educational mission, and then also capturing the high quality of care that you're providing. It's kind of daunting, right? Because you have multiple audiences that you're trying to reach, but I think with very strategic social media usage, that can be really helpful. One thing that I have learned in this process is the different audiences for the different types of social media, right? Our LinkedIn posts are really geared towards, professionals, collaborations with researchers, and letting people know about Newcastle. Whereas Instagram is a great opportunity for feeds and to be able to show more of the fun that we have, and also the great work that we're doing. And really, I think for university clinics is thinking smartly about all those different channels and how they would maybe adjust the content according to those audiences.
Another great answer.
It's
Thank you.
wonderful.
I was listening. I was just like, wow, I feel like I know something about social media now. Thanks
Yeah,
to
Yeah.
Kayla. Yeah.
Kayla has taught you well.
I know. I'm so
She-
proud.
Yay.
uh,
Awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining us today. It was so nice to meet you and get to
Yeah.
chat with you about all the wonderful things that you guys are doing with your social media. If someone wants to find you online, where can they find you?
so hashtag Newcastle, and newcastle.northwestern.edu for our website. We're on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We will be working in the near future on a YouTube channel and creating content for that. And then also our Department of Communication Sciences and Disorders has a great website and getting their social media off the ground. So stay tuned for that, and
Yeah.
follow us and see all the great things that'll be happening.
I love it. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us. And thank you to everyone for listening to this episode. We're out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.